All right, let's bring in host of Unbalanced, as well as our chief Washington anchor, Leland Vittert. Leland, great to talk with you again. We know that the former president has now landed in Miami, but let's just talk about what this day has been like for him. Presumably, in addition to traveling, he is strategizing with his team of lawyers.
Sure, and there's not at least that much in terms of strategy for an arraignment, because you walk in and you say, I'm not guilty, and there's some procedural things and you move on. Any day that you're under federal indictment, even if you're Donald Trump who doesn't sort of mind the fighting, is not necessarily a great day. And look, we've seen the polling come out that yes, that with the Republican primary voter electorate, this story doesn't really matter that much. We can't see yet in the polling anything that has shown a diminution of the support for Donald Trump among the primary electorate. Interestingly enough, Donald Trump's approval rating remains that of just about the same as Joe Biden's in the United States. So just in terms of the day that you're having, it's not much different than any other day that he has running for president. I think what's sort of interesting is in the sense that a couple of months ago, when you and I were talking about the very first time a president had been indicted, it was the first time he was going to court, on and on and on. There was this enormous buildup to what that day in New York was going to be like. And it's kind of turning out to be exactly like this, pretty anticlimactic. It's somebody flying from New York to Florida, then going to spend the night at one of his hotels. And then tomorrow he's going to show up in an office building. If it wasn't a federal courthouse, I don't think any of us would care.
Yeah, and Leland, you mentioned his polling there. I want to get into that in a bit, but let's just talk about, realistically what we should expect tomorrow, because we know there are no cameras allowed in the courtroom. The former president, at least as of right now, is expected to enter through a side door, so we likely won't see a lot of him. What can we realistically expect?
Probably a lot of what happened the last time, which was hours of coverage of him moving from the Doral towards the federal courthouse, then going into the courthouse, and then the hour-long speculation of actually what's happening, the minutia. We don't know exactly what is going to happen inside the courthouse, what the agreements have and haven't been. We heard from last time, as it related to the former president, there were some accommodations made in New York. There's no reason not to think there would be here. Typically, the federal process has I would say a lot more dignity, but a lot more sort of respect for the defendant. Things are sort of moved along a lot quicker, and then he walks into the courthouse, and you're going to have the arraignment, none of which we'll see. We'll get some sketches of that, the typical sketches, and then he walks out, and in the end, we're gonna end up hearing from him. So, okay. I think the thing to sort of both say that we're probably not so much what we're going to see, but what we're not going to see, and that there's all this discussion about Miami on edge, and there's going to be the threat of protests and the threat of violence and on and on and on, and that hype. We went through that with New York and didn't see it in New York. There's really no reason to think that we're going to see much in the way of other than like a zillion Secret Service agents and Miami police surrounding a building tomorrow, and things will go off pretty much like they did in New York.
Leland, before we let you go, I want to talk to you about the overall Republican response. There are some detractors, but at least publicly, Republicans overall really appear to be rallying around our former president.
Right, and this is for two reasons, right? One is that there is a feeling among Republicans that there is a group of voters, and polling shows this, who do not like Donald Trump, but like what is happening to Donald Trump even less. So there is that crew. Vivek Ramaswamy, who's going to be on the show tonight. He says he's holding a press conference tomorrow on the steps of the courthouse to talk about things. Well, it doesn't, from a standard political viewpoint, when your opponent, which, all Republicans now are opponents in the primary, when your opponent is being indicted, you don't show up at the courthouse to talk about how it's wrong for him to be indicted. There is something about President Trump's personality and his continued hold on the Republican primary electorate that makes it very difficult for a number of his opponents, the exceptions to that being Mike Pence, Chris Christie, and Asa Hutchinson, who have taken a very different line on this. But among the Republican primary electorate, the idea that there is a double standard and that you can make political hay out of Republicans being persecuted, even if you don't like Donald Trump, polling shows that that's a block of voters to appeal to.
Absolutely, and we see that caravan now, as the former president, having just landed in Miami, is leaving the airport ahead of tomorrow's arraignment. Leland Vittert, host of On Balance, we certainly appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.